I think most of us at some point in our life made that Christmas list, right? You might have written at the top, what I want for Christmas. Remember doing that? I mean, we did it as a kid for sure, but you know what? I find that I still kind of have to make that list for folks. Let them know kind of what I'm really wanting for Christmas or what I'm really needing for Christmas. I mean, our kids still kind of do that even today. And now that we have grandkids, that's the way it always is. In fact, we always ask, what do our grandkids want for Christmas? And then we get that list and we just hope that there's nothing big and over the top on that list so that we can afford it. I remember the one time though, when I was a kid, I was probably 10 or 11 years old. I'm not really sure, but I know I was younger and I wanted a pool table. And that's all I asked for was a pool table. Please, Mom and Dad, get me the pool table. Please have Santa bring me a pool table. And so I kept asking for that over and over again. And, clearly, I never considered the cost of a pool table. And even if we could have afforded a pool table, there was no place in our house that we could have put a pool table. But for my little 11 or 12-year-old mind, I wasn't thinking about that. I just knew I wanted a pool table. And here's the thing. I got a pool table that year. I really did. I got a pool table. It was like 3 feet tall and it was small enough to fit in my room. It was one of those kiddie pool tables with balls about the size of a golf ball. But you know what? It was a pool table and it was my own pool table. And I don't remember being disappointed. It wasn't really what I expected, but I wasn't really disappointed because I had my own pool table. Yes, it was made out of plastic. Yes, it was cheap, but it was my pool table. And I loved that pool table, clear up until I decided to try to sit on it and I broke all the legs on it. And then I realized, you know what? I guess that's not the best pool table. So think about it. Maybe you're thinking back on one of those lists that you had as a kid. What do you want for Christmas? Sometimes it's hard to decide. And I know as kids, it's really difficult for us to decide what we want, what we need, how to prioritize that list. How does that work for us as adults? What do you want from Christmas this year? Really imagine, what is it? If you could get anything you wanted this year for Christmas, what is it that you want? Maybe move away from the idea of a material gift. Maybe move away from the idea even of a practical gift, like no socks and underwear. I'm not talking about that. If you could really get what your heart desires most, what would it be that you would put on your list for Christmas? Maybe what would it be on your prayer Christmas list to God? What do you want God to bring you this year for Christmas? During Advent, we talk about those candles of hope, peace, joy, and love, and we talk about Advent as that time that's coming, and maybe there's something within that description that would describe those things that you really want. I want to find a deep sense of hope. I want to experience this unexplainable peace. I want to know that I am loved and be able to love in return. I want to experience joy that goes beyond just the happiness that I might feel from day to day. What is it that you really want this Christmas? Now, when I think about it, and I think about Isaiah and Isaiah's promises to the people, as Isaiah began to talk about and give language to this idea that one was coming who would be called the Messiah, the chosen one of God. There's an interesting little list about what this Messiah of God, this anointed one of God, is supposed to bring. And we find it first in Isaiah 61, where the prophet says this: "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me." That's the sign that this is the Messiah that is being talked about. "Because the Lord has anointed me, He has sent me to bring good news to the oppressed, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, to release the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort those who mourn, to provide for those who mourn in Zion, to give them a garland instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the mantle of praise instead of a faint spirit. This was the promise of the gifts that the Messiah was to bring. And essentially that's what we celebrate at Christmas, the coming of the Messiah, who has come to bring those gifts. Not the material necessarily, not the practical, but those things that were of life, that breathed life into the people. This was the promise that Isaiah spoke of so many years ago. And guess what? When Jesus began his public ministry and when he went back to Nazareth to preach to those people of his hometown, and he was, in a sense, announcing himself to be the Messiah, and he opened up the scroll of Scripture, he went to Isaiah, what we now know as Isaiah 61, and he said, this is what I am now doing. At the end of reading that passage about this release of the captives, this proclamation of the year of the Lord's favor, when he finished reading that scripture, he said, today this has been fulfilled. Today, those are the gifts that I am bringing you. Those are the gifts that maybe not be on your list, but those are the gifts that are coming to you this Christmas. So, with the Christmas music in the background, what's on your list today? What do you want most? What do you need most this year for Christmas? Maybe rather than making that material list, that practical list, we make this out as a prayer list to God. Lord, please bring me this gift for Christmas this year.